Good morning. Today is April the 28th on a Sunday. Hope you guys are having a good day. I want to talk about here just Justin Shelby case, the Huntsville, Alabama 15-year-old gay student who reportedly took his own life after being bullied. There's just something strange about this whole case that I find, and I'm not quite sure if I'm buying the angle that he was bullied. And I'm going to touch on that as to why I'm just very suspicious of this particular case. Hold on here. I'm going to bring up here the mother. Here's the mother right here, Nigel Shelby. Hopefully this will be coming on soon. Okay, here's the mother right here. And this is the mother right here, of the student. And I just want you to hear her words very carefully as she speaks right here. And she's talking about her son. And I might have to stop this just to make points here.
Nigel Shelby says son Nigel was the light of her life, a miracle child and a born entertainer.
Nigel was the sweetest child. He was so outgoing. He was always full of joy, full of light, always dancing, always singing. He wanted to be a performer, so you could probably tell.
But she says Nigel, who was gay, had trouble accepting himself. He experienced depression and sometimes sank into a dark place. She recalls when Nigel finally gathered the courage to come out to her 2 years ago.
Coming out at such a young age, it can be hard. You never know if you're going to be accepted. He didn't know if I was going to accept it. I mean, that's my child. I love him. I know him. So I already knew.
Kamika says she thought her acceptance would give Nigel the courage to embrace his true self, but she says he still struggled. In spite of his challenges, on the last night she and her son spent together, Kamika says she saw nothing that would foreshadow the devastating, life-altering event that was to come.
But he came in my room when I was getting ready to go to sleep. He told me, Mom, I'm going to do better in school. He kissed me. I'm sorry.
Hold on, let me stop right there. I need to go back on something. Did you just hear that? Come on, computer, let's go back right here. Remember it just said that she saw nothing that would foreshadow the devastating event? Okay, if he was being bullied and if it was some type of really traumatic bullying, then I would have thought that she would have seen something or he would have told her about it. Now, perhaps he could have kept it to himself, but she said that she didn't see anything. So let's go on.
He kissed me on my cheek and told me that he loved me. I woke up around 9 because that's his bedtime. I remember his light being on, and I said, Nigel, close your door, because the light is shining in my room. And he was like, okay, Mom, good night, That was the last conversation that I had with my baby. When I got up to go to work that morning, of course, he was still asleep. So I didn't even get to talk to him anymore.
Nigel would have gotten home from school last Thursday between 4 and 4:45. Kamika says she returned home around 6 that evening, and that is where she found her son.
I'm kind of confused myself as to exactly what made him want to take his own life, because I didn't think that he was going through that much.
Let me stop it here. You heard it out of her own mouth. She stated, I'm kind of confused as to what exactly would have made him want to take his own life. If she's not exactly sure as to what would have made him want to take his own life, why is a narrative being spun that is like 100% from bullying? You heard her say that out of her own mouth, that she's not quite sure. She's not completely sure. Let's play it over again.
Made him want to take his own life because I didn't think that he was going through that much. You know, I knew that he was struggling. I knew that he was depressed. Like I said, we were going to see doctors on a regular basis. He was meeting with psychiatrists, you know, to talk to him and stuff. I'm still shocked.
That's very odd. I find that to be very strange that you didn't think that he was going through that much, but you're seeing doctors, psychiatrists on a regular basis. He suffered from severe depression, but you did not think he was going through that much? That's very odd, I think. I mean, it would have told me that whether he's at school, whether he's at park, at job. I mean, if someone's seeing a psychiatrist or doctors on and off for years and years, then obviously they must be going through a hell of a lot. Let's go on.
This day that my baby's not here anymore.
And while she's not blaming what happened to Nigel completely on the bullying he endured at school, she says it didn't help.
With Nigel's situation, he was already struggling with his own identity. So he was going through some stressful times. And when, like, depression is real. Okay, it really is. A lot of people don't understand that depression is really a disease. And when you have a kid that's already depressed and going through a lot emotionally, for you to call them names that you shouldn't call them, you know, or say stuff to them, it sometimes have a worse effect than it would on a child who's not struggling with depression.
Kamika is now wondering whether something happened at school that day that prompted him to end his life. And as she prepares to lay her only child to rest this weekend, Nigel Shelby says she wants Nigel to be remembered as the kind, loving, special boy he was.
So she's wondering if something at school prompted him to possibly take his own life. So again, she's not really sure. If she's not really sure, then why are we, the public, speaking as if though it was 100% by or from bullying? Let's go on.
For all the joy and laughter he brought to the lives of everyone he met.
I don't want him to be remembered as a kid that was bullied for being gay.
You see something right there? I'm going to just remember who's there. It's Kamika, and I'm thinking that's his aunt, her sister. But I'm going to touch on this later, though.
His own life. He was so much more than that. He was sunshine, but he was just such a good spirit to have around. It breaks my heart because I feel like he had so much more love to give.
Okay, let's stop it right there. We're going to stop right there. Let's kind of bring some things down right here. If I want to.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court said that it will take up the question of whether someone can be fired for being gay or transgender. Yes, believe it or not, you can still be fired for that in 28 states. An issue is what.
Okay, excuse me for that. What I want to bring down for this computer here. If I can bring this down right here. Okay, now, reportedly, it was consistent and unrelenting bullying that had gone on, that had happened to Nigel. Now, I want to show you something. The Huntsville School District, or the Huntsville School, has stated that they had not received any complaints. They had not received any complaints. Any complaints or harassments of bullying from either Nigel or his mother. So if he was bullied to death, where was the complaints? Why didn't either Nigel speak up, or why didn't his mother speak up and complain to the school about him, about the constant bullying that was going on? Another thing too that I find very odd about this, and not only that, let me stay on the subject right here, because they stated that they had a very good relationship with the mother and with Nigel, and they wanted to make sure that he was in a safe environment. So if that's the case, according to them, if that's the case right there, if she had a great relationship with him and Nigel did too, it seemed like to me that someone would have spoke up about him being bullied. And apparently the mother is not really saying anything that, that's going to dispute that what the school district is saying. I've not heard any type of word from her saying that, they did complain about him being bullied. Let's stay on the bullying for a minute because I want to show you something else right here. If I can bring this up right here. But what I want to show you when it does come up is that there was a classmate of his who stated that let's see, there was a classmate of his, I believe the name is Malone or Mason, who stated that Nigel was the type of person who would always stick up for people. No, that's about the demographics right there. Come back to that later on. Here he goes. Malone, a friend of Nigel. Well, she said he wanted to spread positivity in his honor, or she did though. But she said, she goes on to say that he was the best friend that anyone could have. He was always there for everybody, and when they needed someone to talk to, I guess. And where's the part of which I want to show you where she said something that's very interesting though. Oh, she goes on to say that she knew her classmate was struggling with mental illness. Sometimes you can tell, some days he couldn't. Well, sometimes you can tell, and some days you couldn't, she said about Nigel. Malone added he would mask it as much as he could, but some days he just couldn't take it. So I'm thinking he couldn't take the mental illness. But she did not say anything about the constant bullying that people want to make us to believe that happened to him. And let me see what the part that I want to show you here right there. But she's the same friend who added that basically if you were going through something that he would stick up for you. There it goes right there. She goes on to say that Nigel was probably one of the best friends that anyone could have. He was always there for everybody when they needed someone to talk to. And look at this right here. And she goes on to say he always was there for everybody when they needed someone to talk to. And she goes on to say that he always stood up for you even when you were wrong. He always stood up for you even when he was wrong. So apparently he was no pushover. He didn't seem like he was a pushover to me from what she's saying right there. And she did not allude to any bullying, and she was his close friend, which I find to be very odd. Not saying it didn't happen. I don't know as to what level that it did happen. Now, I want to bring to you this shirt right there. See this shirt right there? This is a school picture of him with his shirt right there. One of the things that caught my suspicion, and I was thinking, okay, if he's being bullied, why would you be so bold as to wear a shirt like that? So apparently, you would want to tone it down and kind of like blend in. So apparently Nigel was not no pushover. I do not believe that he was a pushover. Someone who's very timid and someone who's weak would not be bold enough to wear a shirt like this to school. So this bullying angle, I'm not really buying it. I just don't buy this whole bullying angle thing as to what they want us to believe. I'm going to go back to about when I said about I believe it was the aunt who was there with Nigel. It gives his Nigel Shelby right there where he was born. He died, unfortunately. Parents right there, Patrick Cruz. I'm thinking of stepfather. Kamika Shelby, siblings. I don't know he had siblings, but then again, I don't know him. Looked like he had 3 siblings. Patrick Cruz. I don't know if he or the mother are together, but I find it odd that if this was your stepchild, I'm taking that you loved him. You should have. Wouldn't you have been there with your wife in this time of need? Would not the family have been there with her in this particular time of need? I thought it was strange that the father was, or stepfather, or whoever it was not there. It was either the mother or it looked like her sister who was there with her. And then it goes on to the CDC. I just want to know, this is going to be controversial. I have no idea. I'm not an expert in this particular field, but the CDC basically states right here that what we still don't have is concrete data on the link between bullying and suicidality. The CDC has reported that it is still unknown if bullying directly causes suicide-related behavior, but that the two do have a relationship with factors that can make one more susceptible or vulnerable to suicidality, such as emotional distress, exposure to violence, family conflict, and relationship problems. So basically, they're not quite sure if there's if that can be the, I guess, the sole culprit right there. So here's just my take on this whole thing. As you heard the mother say out of her own mouth that she's not exactly sure, I'm not really sure as to why people took this story and ran with the whole he was bullied to death scenario. Because at the end of the day, we just don't really know as to what really happened. And this is going to be one of those cases that we don't really know as to the exact cause as to how he even died, which brings up another question. I find it odd that no one is talking about, how did he die? Was it through a gunshot wound? Or did he slit his wrist? Did he hang himself? Did he take sleeping pills? No one is really, it just seems like that's being kept from the public. And my personal take on this is that I'm thinking it was mentally related. Depression, definitely severe depression. I think the suicide thing was just like 10%. I think it's very unfortunately that it's being spun like it was 100% as to what caused him to take his life. I'm not sure. I find the mother's response, a little bit odd. But then again, she's grieving still, though. She kind of comes across to me like she was not fully equipped to deal with a child with mental illness, because that's understandable considering that it probably started when he came out at 13 and it's only been 2 years ago and he's 15 now. So that's kind of like, she's still in a very learning process. So, but I just find this whole thing just kind of odd. I found it very odd from the beginning, because I'm thinking that if you're a parent and you know that he was being relentlessly bullied and he had mental issues, I would have sought a transfer to another school, or I would have taken him out of school. Seriously, I think it's better to have a dumb child than a dead child. And I think it's odd if the school is correct, if they're telling the truth, that there was no complaints or any word from the parent, or either Nigel or parents, or, of him being bullied. So, I just find, just this whole story just to be, a little bit odd. I just think that there's a lot of missing pieces that I don't think that we would ever truly know about. I really don't. I think that it's unfortunately that the suicide thing was spun, because I do think that certain LBGT groups took that and politicized it and ran with it. And I think that the public kind of ran with this like they ran with the Jussie Smollett case, not really knowing the full facts. It just made for good news. I think young black gay committed suicide, and that's just sensationalism that sells, though. It sells all across the board. It's very unfortunate, though. But I'm going to end this by may he rest in power, and hopefully he gets the peace he finds it that he did not find in life. Till the next video, I'm out.